there, time for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us are the Mirror's John Cross and Ian Ladyman from the Mail. Welcome to you both. Let's run you through the back pages. We'll start with the Express, shall we? Stubbed out is the headline on their back page as Cole Palmer is ruled out for at least the next 3 matches after breaking his toe on a door at home. I had to double check that one when I heard that first. The Mirror carry quotes from Pep Guardiola with the City boss claiming the title race starts now. They play Newcastle on Saturday, live on Sky Sports. Declan Rice is backing Mikel Arteta to become one of football's greatest ever managers by winning it all with Arsenal. That's in the Sun. Ben Stokes' brilliant performance with the ball leads the way in the eye as the Ashes explodes into life on day 1 of the series. What an opener that was. Welcome to the Fast Show is the headline in the Telegraph. The Times also feature the Ashes, plus how Premier League clubs have rejected a supposed salary cap. And finally, the Star feature Anthony Joshua's controversial fight against Jake Paul as the two go head-to-head for the first time ahead of next month's bout in Miami. Okay, John, Ian, really good to see you. We'll start with the back page of the Daily Express. Stubbed out, they say. Luckless Palmer KO'd again, this time after bashing his toe on the door. John, in the scale of 1 to this is really weird injuries, this one's quite up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very quirky, Jess, isn't it? That's what sets it apart, really, and makes it a back page story because, I mean, Cole Palmer, let's be honest, he's had such rotten luck this season, partly, I would argue, because of fatigue and playing so many games in the summer in the Club World Cup, that he's almost become the forgotten man. But then basically he was due back in training on Thursday, but then Maresca details a story of how he got a text late at night Wednesday from the doctor and basically saying as soon as you see a text come up from the doctor, you know it's bad news. And sure enough, Cole Palmer has stubbed his toe on a door at home. I mean, blimey, it's up there with bizarre footballing injuries at home, really. I do remember one many years ago of Dave Besson dropping a pot of salad cream on his foot and basically being out for a couple of months. But I do think it's up there. I feel so sorry for Cole Palmer because honestly, he's missed England camps. He's missed so much football. He's going to miss this incredibly pivotal week for Chelsea when he was obviously hoping to be back, starting with Burnley on Saturday. Then they've got Barcelona on Tuesday. Any player will want to play in that glamorous Champions League game. And then a London derby with Arsenal next Sunday. He honestly cannot catch a break at the moment, Cole Palmer. Such a wonderful player. And let's be honest, it's World Cup year. And I bet that's in his head right now. Basically saying, I need to string some games together to kind of get back into the England setup because honestly, Cole Palmer at his best is a shoo-in for club and country, surely.
Yeah, so this injury then, Ian, repercussions not just on Chelsea, but potentially England as well. The World Cup will be on his mind, won't it?
Yeah, I'm only smiling because I've actually done this myself. I have woken up in the middle of the night and stubbed my toe on the bedpost at the bottom of our bed, and it hurts.
Did you break it?
Absolutely guarantee you, it really, really hurts. So I feel for Cole Palmer in more ways than one. In terms of the World Cup, I mean, look, all joking aside, the one thing to be grateful for is that this is not likely to be a long-term injury. It will be another frustration, another hiccup, as John refers to, coming towards what has been a very difficult year for Cole Palmer. I agree with John. He is a superb footballer. At his best, he is almost unplayable like he was in that first year and a half for Chelsea, and he would certainly be another contender for that number 10 position, playing for England with Jude Bellingham and Morgan Rogers and Phil Foden and others. So this does not affect his World Cup chances. He's got time. He's got lots of time, but he needs to play. He needs to play again. He needs to get back into a rhythm. He needs to get his confidence, and he needs to play well in front of Thomas Tuchel. But if we're talking about 3 games or 3 weeks or whatever, yeah, it's an inconvenience. It's a footnote in the season, if you excuse the pun, and we hope that he comes out of it and we see the best of him in the new year.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. Okay, let's get to the back page of the Mirror. Title race starts now is the headline. Pep's warning to Arteta. Pep Guardiola basically saying that it doesn't matter where we are in November. He says that the Premier League title race starts now. What happens in February or March? Be careful, he says, as he fires that warning to Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. What do you make of that, John? That's fighting talk from Pep Guardiola, but he's right, isn't it? It's what happens after that Christmas period and which team can basically outlast the others.
Yeah, and let's be honest here, Jess. I mean, Man City have got such great history in this, haven't they? I mean, the one thing that they do extremely well is come out of Christmas, basically, as long as they've kind of got their opponents within range. And listen, Arsenal finished, second 3 seasons running, and, twice sort of runners up to Man City. So I do think Pep Guardiola will know that he can probably get into, if not Mikel Arteta's head, then certainly the heads of Arsenal fans, really. He'll be slightly nervous, and every kind of single drop point, they dropped 2 at Sunderland in their last time out. Then Man City put on that brilliant performance, didn't they, against Liverpool 24 hours later. And then suddenly, people are talking about, well, Man City, they couldn't, could they? Because honestly, not many people gave them much of a chance, did they? We were thinking that might be a team in transition, which I personally thought was a bit harsh on a manager of the quality of Guardiola, also on a squad that looks actually rebuilt, reinvigorated of late. Yes, I think there's question marks over the defence, but honestly, when you've got Haaland scoring goals like he has this season, they're a force to be absolutely reckoned with, I think, moving forward. And I think anything then that can kind of play into, sort of Man City's sort of strength, if you like, sort of kind of pivotal weekends, aren't they? If they're playing Newcastle, and Arsenal got the North London derby, and Arsenal got a really difficult week this week with sort of kind of three games. You've got Tottenham, Bayern Munich, and then Chelsea away. Well, honestly, those are difficult games for Arsenal, and that will be a test of their nerve. And I felt as if almost Guardiola saying on the back of the Mirror to for tomorrow's paper, basically saying, this is a test, really, and he's just trying to rev up the pressure a little bit, and probably succeeding, I suspect.
Yeah, Pep is brilliant at the mind games, isn't he? Staying on the theme of Arsenal, back page of The Sun, they've been talking about Mikel Arteta. Champagne's on Rice. Judge Mikel when he has won the lot. Declan Rice has been bigging up his head coach. He says he's young in his managerial career, but when it's all said and done, he will go down as one of the best. This is only the start. Ian, I suppose you look at Mikel Arteta and what he's done with Arsenal. It has been impressive, but he hasn't won that Premier League title, that all-elusive league title, since he took over in 2019. If he wins that, does he then join the conversation of being one of the best, or is that a bit premature?
It's absolutely premature. I mean, my regard for Mikel Arteta is enormous. I think he's a fabulous coach. I think he's a fabulous leader of footballers, and I think the rebuilding of Arsenal, post Wenger and post Unai Emery has been absolutely superb. However, he's not won anything. He won the FA Cup in his first season with the team that he inherited. He's not really got his name on anything yet, and for all the progress that they've made, he absolutely has to do that. I think he probably will do that this season. I think they probably will win the league. They were my tip, and they were my tip last season as well, and that didn't go so well. So he needs to do that. And when he's done that, he then needs to win other things as well. I mean, you look back in the history of Arsenal Football Club, and you start looking at people like Arsene Wenger and those who went before him. Like Mikel Arteta's got an awful long way to go before he's even spoke about in the same sentence as people like that. Having said all that, Arsenal are absolutely moving in the right direction. The squad is better than it was last season. It's deeper than it was last season. It has a different way to score goals, probably more ways to score goals than any other team in the Premier League. Some people scoff at that. Anyone who has a decent football brain realises that it's a great strength. The defence is unbelievable. It'll be interesting to see what they do without Gabriel. That is a huge loss. Although again, they have more depth there than they did previously. So Arsenal are moving superbly in the right direction. But if we're going to talk about legends, then come on, let's have this conversation again in 2 or 3 years when Mikel Arteta has put 1, 2, 3 trophies on the sideboard, and let's see who we are then.
Yeah, it has been a remarkable defensive showing from Arsenal this season. And John, you've been writing about this in the Daily Mirror and comparing the current back four to the legendary Arsenal defence under George Graham. Because they've been absolutely imperialist, haven't they, so far this season, this Arsenal back four?
Absolutely sensational. Yes, they conceded 2 in their last Premier League game, but that only made it 5 from 11 games, which is absolutely fantastic. But before that game, they were not just not conceding goals, they were not even conceding chances. That is how well structured they are as a team, as a unit. I'm just trying to look, and Lee Dixon talking about it as well within the piece, and sort of similarities between that phenomenal back four that George Graham built, that sort of won him 2 titles, that Arsene Wenger then inherited, and was almost the rock upon the foundation which Wenger then built his magnificent kind of first double winning team in '98. And really, I do think, a sort of kind of lean on a sort of quote from Fergie, basically saying, attacks win your games, but defences win your titles, really. And I do think that's true. I do, Arsenal bucked the trend because they conceded the least amount of goals in the last 2 seasons and finished second, of course. But I do think that Arsenal really have gone from strength to strength. Why? I think Zubamendi's been a really good signing, given extra protection. I do think that sort of a lot of people around the training ground talking about Gabriel and his determination, his intensity, and his desire, has brought something different to the coaching staff, and it's the way they're structured. Yes, they're missing Gabriel, but as you rightly said, just really signed some players, haven't they? They've sort of kind of brought in depth to the squad. Arteta has done a phenomenal job at Arsenal. He's really sort of kind of changed the mood and changed the direction of the club. But I do agree with Ian that basically it does need to win trophies, and honestly, this defence gives them one hell of an opportunity this season. Honestly, if they don't win it this season, I'm not sure they ever will, because it's a great opportunity for Arsenal this season.
Yep, and they go on to play Spurs in their next match. North London derby, live on Sky Sports, will be an excellent showing. Okay, let's talk Liverpool. In your paper, Ian, in the Mail, the headline, Isak's still not ready. Slot admits star is unfit, but has no other option than to play him. Do you get the sense now that Arne Slot is just getting frustrated with the lack of fitness shown by Isak and the fact that his star striker, his record signing, isn't banging in the goals?
Yeah, it's a real problem, isn't it? And it's a problem that says a lot about modern football, actually, because if this was 20 years ago, Isak would be playing reserve games. And he'd be getting his fitness that way. It doesn't quite work the same these days, as we know. And so the only way that a player can do as much as the conditioning staff want him to do on the training ground, and he can run as much as he wants, and he can do as much intense work as they want him to do. But there is no substitute for matches. So apart from arranging behind the closed doors friendlies, which again don't have the intensity of competitive games, he's got to play. He's got to play. And Slot's point today was that he might have to play ahead of other players who, on form and fitness, probably deserve to play more. If you get my point, so he'll be talking about players like Ekitike and Gakpo and people like that. And it's very difficult. It's far too early to talk about signings being a disaster and signings being a mistake, but this one needs to come to the boil at some point. And if he's still not fit, because obviously he came back from Newcastle with a delayed start, he then played, then he got a small injury, so that set him back again, played a little bit for Sweden. He's just got to play, and so that is Slot's point. He's got to put him in the team, even if his form and his fitness probably doesn't merit it. It's a very peculiar situation.
Yeah, frustrating then for Arne Slot and Liverpool. John, Ian, for the moment, thank you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be looking at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers, including this in the Times. Significant news from the Premier League. Top flight clubs reject supposed salary cap. Hello there, you're watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to the Mirror's John Cross and Ian Ladyman from the Mail. Let's go straight to the back of the Times then and talk about the significant news off the pitch for the Premier League. Top flight clubs reject salary cap, it says. Now, there was a vote in London by the Premier League clubs, and they actually voted in favour of new financial rules. Squad cost ratio will replace PSR. Now, that basically means that clubs will be limited to spending 85% of their revenue on player costs. Now, the controversial anchoring element of this proposal, seen by many as a salary cap, was defeated. 12 voted against, 7 in favour, 1 abstained. Now, John, I know you've been writing a lot about this today. So what's your kind of overview of what's happened, and then your opinion on how significant it is?
Yeah, I tried to construct an idiot's guide, really.
Good, because it's wordy.
Yeah, will probably be fitting with my understanding of it. Look, it's complicated, it's complex, and look, the Times have covered this well, and basically the Times have sort of had a sort of handle on it, and they're really sort of kind of almost taken a big attitude on it, and basically they're the ones that were sort of really branding it the sort of the salary cap. That's how the kind of the PFA, the Players Union, have been seeing it, simply because anchoring was seen as sort of kind of restrictive. It's tied to the sort of kind of the spending of the bottom clubs, therefore it would impact upon kind of wage resources and how much you can pay players, and that would put potential restrictions on for teams and basically on contracts. And they were basically saying, well, that could affect who we recruit, the levels of what we're paying. We really don't like it. So some of the big agencies are sort of kind of threatened some action. The clubs are sort of pulled together, and it really was torpedoed that. But every club, I think, basically has somehow agreed that basically they probably have to find something to bring in to kind of replace PSR, which is somewhere along the line upset someone, basically, whether that be fans, clubs or players alike, really. And so they had to find something. And this is the squad cost ratio. Put in simple terms, as you say, Jess, it's you can spend on players, that's transfers, contracts and managerial staff, up to 85% of your turnover. Rather confusingly, there is a little bit of a green threshold, which you can kind of then have a sort of 30% leeway as long as you don't go over that, and then basically find a little levy, and then basically just you've kind of got to get your books in order basically once a year, March the 1st, and when you're sort of duly tested. It mirrors rather the UEFA rules, which are actually stricter. They're given 70%, so it can be difficult, I guess, for teams to comply with both, and that's obviously something they've got to add up on. The average fan, I think, basically wants to know that his team can either strengthen when they go up, which I think obviously Sunderland have bought incredibly well, and then basically for the bigger teams, for example, just want to know that they can carry on sort of strengthening to be competitive. Should be noted that 6 voted against it. Brighton, Bournemouth, Leeds, Brentford, Palace, Fulham, simply because they've got doubts over whether indeed you can be competitive, and they've got those concerns. They're not the biggest spenders in the world, are they? But there's still a bit of a sort of obviously a division here over what works. But it was 3-hour meeting or so today, and for this to pass off, I think it probably keeps more happy than not, if you like.
Yeah, also, as part of these new regulations, the Premier League has also closed loopholes, so clubs can no longer claim paper profits by selling hotels, other capital assets, or their women's teams to affiliated companies. Ian, what kind of impact might this have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled about that part, because that's obviously been an utter nonsense, and every football fan across the country has seen right through that for what it has been, which has been a clear manipulation of rules and exploitation of a loophole. That loophole has now been closed, and I think we should all be chuffed to bits about that. John's Idiot's Guide, by the way, I've read John's Idiot's Guide, and it does work. I think he actually possibly wrote it for me. What I will say, though, seriously, is that the big clubs, or traditional big clubs, will be delighted about this, because if you can spend 80% of turnover, it essentially means that the more money you make, the more money that you can spend. So a club like Manchester United, with huge matchday revenues, huge sponsorships, etc. Liverpool will be the same. Tottenham will be delighted because they've got a new stadium and their turnover is bigger than it's ever been. Arsenal likewise. Manchester City are expanding their stadium, and clubs like Newcastle, for example, who've got new stadiums on the horizon, will be thinking, right, let's press the fast forward button on that, because clubs have got to make money to spend money. No coincidence at all that clubs like Brighton, Bournemouth and Brentford voted against, because of course they've been doing very, very well under the current PSR system by running their businesses very, very economically and sensibly. So no surprise at all that they would have been quite happy to keep the status quo.
Okay, and I want to stay with you because we're going to talk cricket now and the Ashes after a phenomenal first day in Perth between England and Australia. Back at the Telegraph, welcome to the Fast Show. And there were lots of question marks, weren't there, about this England team going into this, and particularly Ben Stokes' kind of being so adamant that he wanted his quick bowlers in this attacking lineup. The likes of Jofra Archer, who's been properly managed to make sure that he was on track, on time to feature in this Ashes. Mark Woods as well. And it seems rare that England possibly have a quicker attack than Australia in an Ashes series. It seems like pace was the answer for England in this opener.
Yeah, I mean, fabulous and fascinating first day of cricket. They certainly have got the edge in terms of pace in this Test match. Australia do have two quick bowlers to come back for the second one, of course. But a fabulous day for the English bowling attack. It's really, really interesting. England do have the edge. It'll be fascinating what happens overnight. England do have the edge. However, there's been an awful lot of positivity on the back of day one. I'm not sure just how positive you can be when you win the toss, you bat first, and you get skittled out of 172. So I think there are question marks there. You're not going to win an Ashes series by posting that type of total on a regular basis. I think the last 5 wickets went for 12 runs or something like that. So let's keep it in perspective. However, it is fabulous to see an English pace attack going to Australia and putting the fear of daylights into Australian batsmen, because of course in places like Perth and Brisbane and Adelaide on rock hard pitches, it's usually the other way around. I have to say this is possibly the weakest Australian batting lineup I've seen for a while. If this series was being played in this country with these teams, I would be absolutely no doubt at all that England would win. It's different down there, of course, but I think what the first day has shown us is that if we can bat, then we've got a heck of a chance.
Yeah, of course, 14 long years since England last won an Ashes series down under. Okay, let's just talk boxing now. Back at the Star, AJ vows to break Jake. Anthony Joshua has promised not to take it easy on Jake Paul and admitted only a knockout will satisfy his thirst for violence, as it's written here by Martin Domin. John, obviously this is massive money. There's going to be a massive audience. People around the globe are going to be tuned in, but how good is this for boxing?
Yeah, that's the question, I think, really. I mean, we'll watch it almost for freak shows, kind of, novelty watch, and to see what it was like, really, because, Jake Paul kind of, glorified YouTuber, basically, against Anthony Joshua, absolute elegant, wonderful boxer, with incredible potential and skill. And then basically that's what it is. Martin Domin there, basically, I think in copy calls it a glorified sparring session. It's hard to disagree. I have to say that kind of the press conference, I don't know whether people caught much of it, but basically it was quite amusing because you've got Anthony Joshua, obviously the serious fighter on this, actually talking up his opponent, saying like normally they do each other down, but he was saying no, he's a serious fighter. He's a really good fighter. Basically he's been at it for some years and some time, and basically you've got to take him serious. Well, I mean, who are you trying to kid? Yeah. I mean, that is, that's bizarre in its own nature. But I think there'll be some good fun, good banter in the build up to next month, and I think it will be a bizarre one, but I think it will kind of captivate us, to be honest, just because it's so unusual. Yeah,
millions will be tuned in, won't they? John, Ian, thank you very much. Ian Ladyman and John Cross, thank you for your company on Back Pages. Now, if you missed any of the show, there's another chance to see. Start
off with any clarity you can give us on Gabriel and how serious that injury is.
Yeah, Gabriel unfortunately picked up an injury with the Brazilian national team, and he's going to be out for weeks.
Is that? Can you give us any more clarity?
No, we need to have another scan. I think it's next Wednesday, and we'll have the timeline probably much more clear than we have at the moment.
It's clearly a blow, but have you ever felt more comfortable about the players that you can actually bring in and the options that you have when you have injuries like this?
Yeah, it's clearly a blow because it's our leader in our backline, and to me, obviously, it's never a positive thing. The good thing, as you mentioned, is that we have very good options, and people have to stand up now and do the job.
Riccardo Calafiori missed the Italy games. Is he okay?
Yeah, he missed it. He wasn't available. He's been carrying a few things, and we have to bring him back. And he hasn't trained yet, so tomorrow we have another training session and see how he is.
what chance the other injuries that you've had in Gyökeres, Martinelli, and the other longer term ones in Jesus, Havertz, Madueke, and have I missed anyone there? Odergard.
Yeah, we put a lot of energy during the international break with all the medical stuff as well to try to bring them as quick as possible. So tomorrow we have another training session, see how some of them are feeling, whether it's a bit too close to bring them in this game or we feel that they can have a contribution in the game. So tomorrow we'll have more clarity.
So there is a possibility some of them could be in the squad?
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful that we can make another step tomorrow, but certainly I cannot tell you.
And you can tell us the names of those?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
I can.
I know you've spoken about the North London derby before, but you've managed the North London derby. You've played in some of the most ferocious derbies in world football. What makes this one so unique, so special for you?
It is different. I mean, it's a big city, but it's a big rivalry. It's a part of London that we want to conquer. They want to do the same. There's been a lot of shifts as well over the years as well. Who's been more dominant, and it's just beautiful, especially when we play at home in front of our people. We know what it means to them and the energy that they're going to bring, the energy that the team is going to bring in every single action, and it's just a privilege to play those kind of games. So we cannot wait to get to Sunday.
You mentioned the fans, and obviously it means so much to both sets of fans. But how big is a challenge is it to separate what their needs are and trying to focus on what is just a game that you want to win and you must win to get 3 points?
It's about bringing it into the table. That's the context of the game, and that's a superpower. You know, when you have everybody playing with that passion and with their emotion with the team every single ball, it makes a difference. And we've been very privileged the way that the fans have been with us at the Emirates, and especially against our rivals. And on Sunday, I'm sure that the team is going to behave and make them very proud.
You mentioned the recent record. It has been very good. From your perspective, 5 wins and a draw in your last 6 North London derbies. Can you put your finger on why the record has been so good? Have you been able to separate the actual occasion with the actual game? Yeah,
it's a game that emotionally requires something else, and you cannot be too hype, but at the same time, that game demands that in every ball, in every action, you have to be at it a bit more than in any other game. And we have found a really good balance. Obviously, we played well. Sometimes we have deserved to win. Sometimes we've been a bit lucky as well to win. That's fair as well to say. So on Sunday, we need a really, really good performance to beat them.
I wonder, Mikel, if you'd seen Wayne Rooney's comments about his 3 outstanding players of the season so far.
No.
Semenyo was one.
Good.
Brian Mbeumo was one.
Okay.
Victor Gyökeres was the 3rd one.
That one is very good.
Just following up on that, he has come under a bit of criticism. Can you allow yourself a little smile like you're doing now?
Well, I'm really glad that this is coming from someone like Wayne, his experience and the kind of player that he was. I'm sure it then is not just related to the goals that he has scored, but the contribution to the team number 9 can do, and the impact that Victor has in our team, his work rate, and the way he opens the spaces for other people, the time that he generates for us, and then as well the level of threat that he's brought to the team, which is magnificent. So really happy to hear that.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks very much. We'll go to Jake from PLP. Hi.
Hi.
How different a challenge, though, is Tottenham this season than they were last season, do you think?
Well, I think every game is very different, and in the same season as well, depending on the momentum of each team, the games are very, very different. I think Thomas has brought something very different to what they had before as well, and you just have to see his record and how remarkable job he did in his previous club, and he's given a very clear identity to the team, how they want to play, how they want to compete, and it will be very tough.
Some people have suggested that where they are in the Premier League table has maybe flattered them based on how they played. What are your thoughts on that?
I think when you start to be in the part of the season that we are, I think you have to really earn the right to be where you are, and I think they've done a lot of very, very good things that they deserve to win. They won in some tough places as well. The record away from home has been very impressive as well, so you need to merit that. Nobody gives you anything in this league.
Manchester City play tomorrow night, obviously ahead of you. If they win, they'll be 1 point behind you. Do you feel them kind of coming after you a bit?
No, everybody's going to try to win every game, the same as we are going to do. We just have to go game by game, control the things that we can do, prepare very well tomorrow for Sunday. We have a beautiful game ahead of us, and that's what we can control.
And just lastly, a big opportunity for whoever you decide to play in place of Gabriel.
Yes, for sure, and that's what we're looking for. And the good thing is that we have rotate and play players in different positions very, very early in the season, and whoever plays is going to be ready to do that.
Alex, BBC.
Hi, Mikel. Start of a big week with Tottenham on Sunday, then into Bayern Munich, and then another London derby the following Sunday. How would you prepare and deal with these matches coming up, especially when you've got the injury issues you have at the moment?
Well, we've done the preparation and the international break. We knew that that was coming, was again very intense but beautiful as well. We have a very tough start of the season as well. We're ready for that. And now have everybody healthy, of the most of them healthy, which is a key thing obviously, and then again get in the rhythm, start to generate momentum again. We are in a really good moment, and we need to continue to do that game by game, because the games are going to be very, very thick and fast, and we need to be ready. Everybody has to be at it.
It's not just Arsenal that are suffering with injuries at the moment, Tottenham as well. I'm seeing it across football. A large part of both squads could be out if they don't come back for the match on Sunday. But do you think injuries are taking away from the quality of the game at the moment?
Well, injuries are part of football. Obviously, the demands that those players have in the way that the schedule is, obviously, is more demands than ever, and probably that's going to bring more injuries. We will try to avoid that as much as possible, but you can see that in many clubs, even in different countries as well. So we're going to have to live with that.
And then just on Gabriel Jesus, how is he getting on in his rehabilitation?
Very good. So he's doing everything with the team at the moment for the last almost 2 weeks. We're going to give him some exposure as well internally with some games, so he gets that fitness. But he looks really good in training, and it's going to be
The future of Ethan Nwanery's potential loan move is suddenly uncertain, as Arsenal remain wary of repeating past setbacks caused by injuries. According to recent reports, the club is open to sending the young midfielder out on loan this winter, but the idea raises immediate questions. Nwanery has become the talk of the moment after a report from the Daily Mail suggested that Arsenal are considering a temporary move for the 18-year-old. Despite his limited minutes this season, the thought of letting him leave, even temporarily, comes with significant doubts. Back in October, Mikel Arteta publicly insisted that Nwanery would have plenty of opportunities to play, pointing to the fact that the teenager had already been called upon when Martin Odergard was injured. "I don't know, but I don't work with expectations," Arteta said at the time. "I work with what the players can give in the context of where the team is at that moment." Ethan played 2 Premier League matches early on because Martin was out. He's played in other competitions and he'll play more. Yet the reality has been very different. Nwanery has logged fewer than 500 minutes this season, appearing in just 5 of Arsenal's 11 Premier League games, none of them as a starter. His only starts came in the 2 EFL Cup wins over Port Vale and Brighton, and in the 3-0 Champions League victory against Slavia Prague. The arrival of Ebereki Eze and the promotion of Max Daumann have tightened competition even further. And despite injuries to Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke, Nwanery's pathway has only narrowed. It's easy to forget how young he still is. At 18, and having first debuted at just 15, like Daumann, these are formative years where consistent playing time is crucial. The busy festive period could open that door, but with Odegaard, Madueke, and Kai Havertz all nearing their returns, there's a real chance Nwanery could slide even further down the pecking order. This is why a January loan sounds logical on paper, but it also sets off alarm bells. Arsenal's season has already been shaped by injuries for the second year in a row, and squad depth has never felt more essential. A single setback among the attacking players over the holiday fixture run could thrust Nwanery back into an important role almost overnight. The more sensible approach may be to reassess in the summer, once the squad naturally reshapes and the club have a clearer picture of their needs heading into 2025. Only then would a loan feel more secure, ensuring Nwanery actually gets the minutes he needs rather than risking another stalled development. Even then, nothing is guaranteed. Supporters will remember Serge Gnabry's loan to West Brom, intended to push him closer to first-team football, but ultimately a move that derailed his progress before he rebuilt his career in Germany. Arsenal's recent history with loans has been mixed at best, and too often unsuccessful. For now, The club must weigh the immediate needs of the squad against the long-term growth of one of their brightest prospects. Whether a loan becomes the right option, or another cautionary tale, remains to be seen. But the complexity of Nwaneri's situation extends beyond simply playing time and squad depth. Inside the club, there is an ongoing debate about how quickly young talents should be exposed to the pressures of elite-level football. Some staff members argue that Nwaneri's technical level is already above many players his age and that keeping him close to Arteta's structure will accelerate his development. Others believe that without consistent starts, and without a clear pathway to earn them, his progress could plateau. The uncertainty has also stirred conversation among supporters and pundits. Several former Arsenal players have expressed concern that the club may be repeating old patterns, where promising youngsters become trapped between first-team aspirations and inconsistent minutes. Others, however, believe the club is being careful for the right reasons, protecting a player who still needs physical development before facing the demands of weekly Premier League battles. This internal and external pressure has placed added scrutiny on Arteta's handling of young talents this season. While he has been praised for trusting academy graduates in the past, the balance has become harder to maintain now that Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts and aiming for silverware. Every decision carries weight. Resting senior players risks losing points, while overusing inexperienced teenagers risks injury or decline in confidence. There is also the broader question of what kind of loan would actually benefit Nwaneri, should the club eventually decide to pursue one. A move to a Premier League side fighting relegation could offer minutes, but expose him to a demanding environment that prioritizes survival over development. A Championship loan, on the other hand, might provide consistent matches, but at the cost of adjusting to a more physical style that does not always align with Arsenal's tactical identity. European options have been mentioned as well, though not confirmed. The possibility of joining a club in the Netherlands or Germany, leagues known for nurturing young talent, has been discussed quietly among observers. Yet Arsenal are hesitant, given how unpredictable such moves can be and how often they fail to produce the expected results. Meanwhile, Nwaneri himself remains focused and professional, according to those around the training ground. He is said to be eager for opportunities, but not frustrated or discouraged. The coaching staff admire his attitude, which only complicates the decision further. He is doing everything right, and still his future remains uncertain. As Arsenal approach the January window, the club finds itself at a crossroads. The next few weeks will likely be decisive, not just for Nwaneri's short-term career, but for how Arsenal choose to manage their most gifted prospects in an era of high expectations and relentless schedules. Any decision made now will be examined closely, not only because of what it means for Nwaneri, but because it will signal how the club intends to balance ambition with development as they move into the next phase of Arteta's project. Arsenal now face a difficult setback. Piero Hincapié may have to step into the North London derby under less than ideal circumstances after Gabriel's injury blow. The club is hoping that Hincapié's long late return trip to North London won't affect his readiness to replace Gabriel against Tottenham, because losing the Brazilian for such a crucial match is a major hit to Mikel Arteta's plans. Arsenal have already been forced to cope with key absences at various stages of the season, but Gabriel missing the derby presents a challenge of a very different magnitude. Naturally, the focus shifts to who will fill the gap on the left side of Arsenal's defense, and for many, the most logical answer is Piero Hincapié. The summer signing impressed during his only start for the club so far, an outstanding display at left centre-back in the League Cup win over Brighton. That night, he partnered with Christian Mosquera, who is also an option for Arteta on Sunday. One possible configuration would see William Saliba move to the left, with Mosquera taking his place on the right, depending on how heavily Hincapié's international travel weighs on Arteta's decision. And that travel is far from insignificant. The Ecuadorian defender is currently away with his national team. He captained Ecuador during their 0-0 draw with Canada, helping secure the clean sheet. But the real concern comes with his final international fixture. Ecuador face New Zealand in New Jersey in the early hours of Wednesday morning, UK time. The match kicks off at 1:30 a.m. and is expected to finish around 4 a.m. Only after that will Hincapié board his flight back to England, meaning he won't arrive in London until Wednesday afternoon at the earliest. From there, he will have just a handful of days to recover, settle back in, and prepare for one of the most intense fixtures of the season. The slight silver lining is that the derby falls late in the weekend, giving him as much time as possible to reintegrate. Still, the timing of his return is far from ideal and adds yet another layer of uncertainty to Arsenal's defensive preparations ahead of a match that could define their momentum for weeks to come. Beyond the logistical headache, Arteta and his staff must also consider the physical and tactical demands that a North London derby imposes. It is not the sort of match where a defender can arrive underprepared, particularly against a Tottenham side that has looked sharp in attack this season. Any hesitation, any lapse in intensity caused by travel fatigue, could be costly. Inside Arsenal, there is a quiet concern that the club may once again be walking a tightrope with its defensive depth. Over the past 2 seasons, injuries at the back have forced Arteta into uncomfortable choices, and Gabriel's setback reopens a conversation that the club hoped was behind them. The manager has repeatedly emphasized the importance of continuity across the defensive line, especially given how central the high defensive line and controlled build-up are to Arsenal's identity. Gabriel and Saliba have been at the core of that stability, and disrupting it inevitably changes the team's rhythm. Analysts close to the club have noted that Hincapie's profile fits the role well, confident under pressure, quick across the ground, and capable of progressing the ball with either foot. However, they also caution that he is still adapting to the Premier League's pace and physicality. Throwing him straight into a derby environment may accelerate his integration, but it also carries risk. Supporters have expressed mixed reactions as well. Many are eager to see Hincapie given a real opportunity, believing his style suits Arsenal's long-term plans. Others worry that asking him to deliver immediately, under difficult circumstances, could place unnecessary pressure on a player still in the early stages of adjusting to English football. The timing of Gabriel's injury also complicates Arsenal's broader goals. With a congested winter schedule approaching and the title race tightening, every match takes on heightened importance. Dropping points against Tottenham could shift momentum, not just in the standings but in confidence across the squad. It also forces Arteta to rethink how he manages minutes for defenders who have already logged heavy workloads this season. Club insiders say the staff have been preparing contingency plans for weeks, anticipating scenarios where international duties and injuries overlap. Yet even the best planning can be stretched thin when travel delays and late-night kickoffs are added to the equation. In the coming days, the medical and performance teams will conduct assessments to determine exactly how ready Hincapie is for Sunday's showdown. Arteta is expected to make a late decision, balancing long-term health with short-term necessity. The hope is that the Ecuadorian arrives in good condition, responds well to training, and can at least offer a reliable solution in Gabriel's absence. What remains undeniable is that Arsenal enter the derby under a new layer of pressure, forced to adapt, to trust their depth, and to test the resilience that has been a defining theme of their season so far.